My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome back to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminski, filling in for Dave Dubeau. And have you ever wondered how a 28-year-old became a millionaire through real estate? Well, today, my guest, Carly Worth, managing partner and investment realtor from, I guess it's Oklahoma to Missouri, MS. I'm not super great with my geography.
Oklahoma and Mississippi is where I invest. I'm from Connecticut.
There you go. She's here to share the secrets for her investing success. Carly, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So a lot of people, I didn't even start real estate until I was 30 something. And you're already all the way there. So, walk us through the journey, how you got started and at what point it started to really pick up for you.
Yeah, so I was in the fitness industry for the first 18 to 26. I think I got into real estate at 26. And so that was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
When COVID hit, I was managing a gym over by Yale University. And obviously due to COVID, the gym shut down. So I was then out of a job, and I was also privately training on the side, which I had been doing since I was 18 as well. But I just kind of got to thinking, I'm like, what am I going to do? That really shook me to the point where I'm like, maybe the fitness industry is not super safe anymore. That's the first thing people are going to cut expenses out of, expensive gym memberships, personal training, all that sort of stuff. So I, was walking in Newport, Rhode Island, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I going to do? God, I need a sign. What am I going to do next? And in the past, friends have mentioned, you should do real estate. You'd be great at real estate. And I always said, I'm not salesy. I can't do real estate. And the whole world went quiet. And this girl across the street was talking to her friends and just having a conversation. And she's like, I'm going to get into real estate. And I was like, I'm going to take that as a sign. That is my sign. I'm going to do real estate. So, got into real estate, passed my test, was licensed the end of December of 2020. So I just hit my 3-year mark. So getting close to 3.5-year mark. So I went from investment agent, which I didn't even think that was really an avenue prior to getting into real estate. I figured I'd be working every weekend, showing houses, doing all of those not so fun weekend things. And a friend reached out to me that was in the class. He was looking for his next investment property and asked me if I wanted to help. And I was, of course, yay, I get my first client in my first, 4 hours of being licensed. And started connecting with, come to find out they're wholesalers in the off-market space. So I had my first 2 deals under contract in my first 6 days of being licensed, the end of December. I remember, trying to figure out how to get the EMD check on Christmas Eve. So that was interesting. So I fell into the investment space, went from Coldwell to a small investment company at the time called Glenstone, and then transferred out of there to Keller Williams. Stayed very close with the owners of Glenstone. They've all become very close friends of mine, and I was doing their properties. They shut down their brokerage during COVID. I was doing their properties, listing them through Keller Williams, and then we kind of all sat together and we're like, what are we doing? This doesn't really make sense. So we decided we would open up the brokerage again, and I would come on as the managing partner for the brokerage. And that's how I got that title, started hiring agents. So I have about 20 agents now. I do our company's buying and selling. And then one of the owners, him and I became partners, and we buy out of state together. So last July, I went under contract for my first investment property, which was a 36-unit building out in Oklahoma. And so I'm up to 45 doors since July of 23, and now I have 22 acres, which I am currently developing on, 96 doors on the 12-acre, and then going to see how that kind of plays out, and maybe do single families on the 10-acre. So it's just synopsis of my real estate journey so far.
Yeah, it's like the investment thing kind of dragged you into the dark side of real estate, the other side, dealing with wholesalers, dealing with off-market properties and all that sort of stuff, as opposed to like the retail side of things. So
I personally love wholesalers though.
yeah, I mean, it's you can do different things when you don't have a license. You can make different deals. So it says here that you mostly focus on the BRRRR strategy so far. I've got that in the notes, in the show notes here. So focusing on value add, um, for people who aren't familiar with the BRRRR strategy, maybe give them a short one, and then kind of how you interpret that and what you're doing to get the money back out.
Yeah, so I will currently only do value add properties. My 36 unit was a value add. I'll be all in probably around 1.6 million. It'll be worth about 2.5 on the back end. And then the smaller things I invest in, like single family duplexes and that sort of stuff. It's been easy in those markets to find like 60% of value. So, I'm buying around 55, 60 grand, including rehab, and they're refinancing. They're appraising at like 100 to 115. And all of those are cash flowing between 11 and 1400 is the rent roll. So on some of those, we're making $5,000 to $15,000 in profit on the refinance. So that's kind of the BRRRR method. You buy, rehab,
A lot of
renovate.
people don't, a lot of people aren't getting their money back. They're keeping money parked. So definitely, is that the area specifically that you're getting those returns in? Is that why you selected to work in that area? Was that the strategy?
Yeah, so there's two strategies to investing, obviously, aside from buy and hold and fix and flip. The strategy is either going to a cash flow market or going to a market that has more appreciation. So I prefer the cash flow markets because I am getting, $50,000, $60,000 in equity while I'm buying these. So to me, I'd rather do them in volume, have higher cash flow, and hold them for 15, 20 plus years, which then obviously due to inflation, they would be worth much more than what I bought them anyway.
So when you look at real estate investing, especially with some of the projects you're talking about, sometimes people might feel a little intimidated by the financial side of things, like the lack of capital to do deals. What advice would you have for someone, looking to invest in real estate?
So I would not advise anyone to do seller financing unless everything is ironed out before, especially if you have a lender coming in, because that put me collectively about $450,000 out of my business partner's pocket to purchase the 36 unit that we were supposed to get seller financing on. So that is one strategy. Just make sure everything's kind of ironed out and your lender allows that second position on the asset. So typically I raise short-term capital for both companies that, I own DW Equity Partners, and then I'm a partner in Glenstone. So I raised short-term capital. Typically our loans are like 3 to 5 months. We pay a 6% minimum, and then that person can just reinvest. So the goal is to kind of get 3 to 4 months, which would put you at 16 to 18% annually instead of the 12%, which is what most people pay. So really for me, it's just been talking to my network. At the end of the day, like your network is your net worth. So it's all about networking, just connecting with people, getting them to trust you and see that you're reliable and what you're doing in the industry. And just creating value for them. Like everyone wants to make money on their money. I lend out all my capital. Like I try to have no more than like $25,000, $30,000 in the bank. So all my capital is always working, which that's just like another side hustle. So I would suggest people, who want to get into real estate but don't have the knowledge to maybe just start with short-term lending.
Mm-hmm. Like whatever and so for people who maybe don't have any money and they're looking at the capital side of things, you're saying the networking with people is where you found the majority of the capital in that sense. What are some tips or what are some things that you do with the investors that you have for your portfolio that help keep them coming back or even coming to you in the first place?
So, you could have no experience, and still raise short-term private capital. But you're probably going to have to bring someone in on like a JV, meaning that like they're an equity partner in the deal and not just a, short-term interest only payments. So with that being said, whether it's my friends or people on my Facebook, I'm very active on social media. So people are kind of seeing what I'm doing, wanting to get involved with what I'm doing, trying to figure out how I'm doing it. So I would say, reach out to your friends and family first. There's a lot of capital right now sitting on the sidelines because people
Mm-hmm.
that don't know the market are scared of the real estate market right now. So people are very hesitant to put money into deals, but I think right now there's no better time to invest than now. So I think once people start kind of seeing a shift, I think that, there's going to be a lot of liquid capital going around, which you should be able to get your hands on. But you're definitely going to have to probably JV for a little bit until you have a track record to like
Mm-hmm.
just raise on your own and do that sort of thing.
So when you look at capital raising in the structure of like, say, raising for these multifamilies, that's um like the construction side of things. What are some, if you could give some insights to your approach for raising that sort of capital, how much capital does that new construction actually need?
Yeah, so typically on a commercial deal, even with a hard money loan where, the rehab is provided to you, you're going to have closing costs, underwriting fees, all that sort of stuff. And then at least 20% down payment, on top of the closing costs. So I'm very lucky that I have gotten to a point where I can acquire larger deals and not need to run a syndication at this point. I have a couple clients slash friends that are, pretty liquid, and they're able to go into the larger deals. So on my development deal, I only brought in one person. So I guess you can consider that a JV. But syndication is like a whole other ball game that we are going to get into, but like at this specific moment, it's not necessary yet.
Mm-hmm.
Multifamily deals are a little interesting right now. Sellers kind of want more than what they're worth. Cap rates are, they're selling lower cap rates than what the
Mm-hmm.
market cap rate really goes for. So unless you're trying to park money, it is hard to find those good value add multifamily deals right now. But in the next couple of years, I think they're going to be more accessible, which would lead to syndication strategy.
Yeah, once you're out of the like first and second tier capital, you'll have to start reaching out a little further, or maybe the deals get so big that you need to go beyond your list. Now, you mentioned being the broker, the managing partner, I guess, in that brokerage. Um, that does lead to you having to coach agents, coach the new ones, recruit new people. What are some key principles or strategies that you really emphasize to help them succeed in what you need them to do at the brokerage?
Yeah, so I try to find more like-minded agents since we are an investment brokerage. I kind of want agents that have the desire to learn about the
Mhm.
investment side of real estate because that's really where my expertise is and us as a company. The three owners have been investors together for 12 plus years. So we have property management, we have construction, we have hard money lending, and we have the brokerage. So we're kind of a one-stop shop. So I try to get those agents in. So I do have quite a few agents that are already investors and investing in multifamilies currently and flipping a little bit. We also have a wholesale division, which is beneficial to our agents as well, because it gives them kind of like first right of refusal on off-market deals.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm screening those people, you know, I definitely want people that have a little bit experience. I don't want like straight out of, you know, being licensed agents, just because the way that I think and the way I process is not a typical real estate agent, which is where a lot of those people are going to want to go until they figure out the investment side of real estate and have interest doing that. A lot of people go into real estate to make money so that they then can invest.
Yeah.
So I like having people that have those goals in mind, because I feel like that's where I can really, you know, add value to their career and their growth personally and professionally. So that's kind of what I look for, is some like-minded individuals who have the desire to grow and be financially free.
Yeah. And they, you know, the investing is like, yeah, like you're saying, most real estate agents, I think the statistic was like a lot of them don't even don't own the house that they live in, and they own no rentals. So
Yeah.
like I take the bus to work, I sell cars. So um when you look at your career so far, there had to have been challenges, you know, along the road. What sort of things have you had to deal with, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who end up being very successful that have a good story.
Hmm.
Um, so like aside from like upbringing, childhood, that sort of thing, which led to my why, which led to my desire to be successful. Um, you know, in the beginning, which I'm sure residential agents experience this a lot more, you just have those really, really difficult, very needy clients.
Hmm.
Which is funny because I got into the investment side so that I wouldn't have to deal with those needy individuals. Um, but my first year was rough. I think a lot of people come into real estate just thinking it's a cakewalk and thinking like, oh, I just have to sell a house and I can make 10 grand. Like that's
Okay,
like
go and do it. Sell one
that's like
house.
a tenth of it.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, you know, I worked probably like 70 hours a week my first year. My goal was to, you know, make six figures my first year, and I knew what I needed to do to get there. And I did get there. So after that, after like the trials and tribulations year one, I really took those into account. You know, I had a client who said he was a flipper. And I mean, he was able to close the deal, and he had a GC that I was very close with, and her and I became good friends and that sort of thing. And this guy had no business flipping, yet alone flipping luxury real estate. Um, and it was just the most dreadful 6 months of my life. I was getting calls, you know, at 5 in the morning, 11:30 at night, like this guy freaking out, having a meltdown. Um, it was so incredibly stressful that like I fell kind of into a depression. I was, you know, it was a really rough time for me. So, you know, I got through to the finish line. I closed the transaction, and then, you know, I said to myself, I am not working with this person anymore, because he took so much time out of my day and out of my life and brought me so much anxiety. Just, I was literally like physically sick from this person giving me so much anxiety. So I decided I was not going to work with him anymore. And I knew that the amount of time that I had to cater to him, I could have done 20 deals with investors who actually knew what they were doing. So that was a big shift for me. Once I got out of that headspace, I'm like, okay, like I think I can stay in real estate. I think I'm okay. And then I just, you know, kept working with the same people who close deals, aren't needy. Like that's the whole point of being on the investment side, is you have savvy people that you're working with, which is, that's how I work. I'm not an emotional business person. I'm a money driven business person. So I kind of just shifted who I was going to work with. And I got to a point where I was able to be picky with who I worked with and who I didn't want to
Hmm.
work with. But it's not easy. I mean, people think that they're just going to come into real estate and just make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And honestly, most real estate agents, they don't even close one deal in their first year and they end up leaving the business.
Yeah. You
So
have to have
yeah,
a few, you have to have a little bit of money saved up. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about the current project right now, 96 development build.
yeah, I'm super excited
Um,
about that.
yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I really love investing by the military base.
Mm,
So that's where my 36 unit is in Lawton, Oklahoma. And then I just purchased 22 acres in Cache, Oklahoma, which is probably about 15 minutes out from Lawton. But it's the school districts out there are amazing. So many people want to live out there, but there's a few individuals who monopolize all of the land. And we were able to get one individual to sell us 2 of his parcels. So we decided, there's not really opportunity to rent out there. The military, they don't really have enough housing, which is why I like the military product. So we decided we're going to build 24 quads. So that totals 96 stores. So we're building 2 quads per acre. So the goal is to rent those, but we're building townhouse style so that way we can sell them off if we get to the point where we're like, okay, you know what, like let's go into a different project, let's sell out. But we're probably we'll be in it for about 8.5 million. And it'll be evaluated if we're able to hit our rents, it'll be evaluated at 17.5, 18 million. So what we'll do is we'll build probably 2 to 4 quads at a time, refinance, take that money back, build the next, and just keep going and just keep getting mortgages built up and start renting them out as they're being refinanced. So that's kind of our strategy over there. It'll be higher up military personnel. They all want to send their kids to these school districts, but again, there's just like no housing there. So on the other 10 acres, depending on how quickly those rent out, we might just build single families and sell them off on the 10 acre.
nice. So definitely the demographic is going to be a good push. So you mentioned you're active on social media. Is that one part of your, because ultimately at the end of the day, when you're trying to raise money, it's about getting in front of the right people, yes, climbing through your network, but also new people. So how are you connecting with like new investors, particularly with like your social approach?
This is going to sound so crazy and doesn't really make sense, but I feel like once you get to a certain social media level, you almost just have people reaching out to you. Like I had 2 people reach out to me this weekend via Facebook and they were like, hey, I have capital that I want to invest into into lending. So lately they've kind of been coming to me, but I do go to networking events. I was just at a syndication networking event last week, where I met some really awesome people. And then this week I'm going with one of my clients who I say he's like the Tony Robbins of business owners. So I'm going to an event with him for specifically, it's like capital raising. So everyone there lends capital. So that should be a really good connection. But those events are a little bit harder to get into when you're starting off. So definitely social media, the 40-second, hey, I'm just over here and this is what I'm doing. You want in on it? I do also think you have to set yourself apart a little bit. And kind of how we decided to do that was the 6-month minimum, because our goal really is to get in and out of a deal in 3 months with rehab and refinance. So, with that being said, that is very enticing to people if they know that they can go in and out of deals 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say social media is definitely huge. Just showing people what you do. Like I post every deal that I do, whether I'm buying it, whether I'm selling it, whether I'm raising on it, like everything I do, I put it on social media because you gotta keep being in people's faces so that they remember you and they see what you're doing and they associate you with real estate and raising capital.
Nice, nice. So finally, what do you see as a future trend, some opportunities in real estate investing, particularly in the markets you're active in?
So again, I'm in big cash flow markets. I've been getting asked left and right, like, I want to invest in these markets, like, but I don't have boots on the ground. So my business partner and I decided we would take on a few partnerships in year one, starting Q2, like this month. So essentially we're doing like 50-50 partnerships. So someone will come in, we'll say, hey, I have $100,000. I want you to build me a single family rental portfolio. So we would take in the capital, depending on how quickly they wanted to go. If they were in it for more, like, to be able to pull the money as long as possible and not pay for any sort of leverage, we would buy the properties cash, rehab them, go right into a mortgage, pull the money out on the refi, buy as many more as we could, and just keep filtering that money with the BRRRR strategy as much as we humanly could.
Mhm.
So that gives the people the ability to own rental properties without having to do any of the work. And they get the tax benefit still, they get the cash flow monthly, they'll get the appreciation at the selling.
Mhm.
So that's been something very interesting that we haven't seen anyone do. So we decided, we're gonna go that route and help people kind of invest. And then obviously you could 1031 exchange into a larger building. And it's similar to a syndication, except it's basically just a JV. So there's no like requirements for being a 506 B or C, which is great. And then you kind of dictate when you want out versus a
Mhm.
syndication. When your money's in there, you're in there until they say it's over.
Yeah.
It doesn't really give you any power to dictate what you want to do with your money, where you want to put it, and when you want to do it.
Mhm.
Um, I am seeing, I believe that the multifamily is going to shift again. I think there's more opportunity. The loans right now are really, they're harder to get
Yeah.
because those are the most that are defaulting. Like over, I think it's like over $1 million. Like those loans are hard right now, but I do think it is going to shift. And people will be able to buy more value add multifamilies. And I think the single family, I think a lot of people overlook single family rental portfolios.
Yeah. They
Um,
just don't want, they just want one building with all 10 of them in one spot. It's like, okay, cool. But at the end of the day, the most valuable piece of property in the world is a single family house. Like that's
I
what
love my
everybody
single
wants.
family
That's what
portfolios.
everybody
Like I
wants.
love them. I think
Yeah.
they're
Just
great.
people just
And
don't want to maintenance all four walls in a yard and
And in a single family, there, your tenants are responsible for most of that stuff. So there is a lot of pros to the single family. And I mean, again, like I'm in a cash flowing market. I'm all in 50, 60 grand and they're worth 100 to 120. And the rents are great on 50, $60,000 investment. You can get 11 to $1,500 in rent, depending on what zip code you're in. I
mm-hmm.
mean, for me, I think it's a no-brainer. But definitely want to get more into development and the multifamily stuff. Development's actually really big right now. A lot of places are short on housing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of funding from government backing right now, which is what we're actually looking into in Oklahoma at the moment. So
As
there's
they
a
try
lot
to
of opportunity out there.
solve the problem, the housing problem.
Exactly. Same thing in South Dakota. I have some connections to like the government inside in South Dakota, and they're giving funding for
Mm-hmm.
developers to come in and develop more infrastructure and more housing.
Yeah. Well, they need to. It doesn't add up. The price
Yeah.
of the thing and the building, it's usually you lose money by building it. So they gotta change the equation. Now, if people want to connect with you, they want to find out more, what should they do? How do they find you?
Yeah, so y'all can reach out to me. My Instagram handle is on my screen. That is also my email. It's ariwithcarly@gmail.com. That's my Facebook, that's my Instagram, that's my LinkedIn. I do provide coaching as well for investment agents. So I help on the coaching front, capital raising, all of that sort of stuff. Whatever you guys need, I'm more than happy. I love mentoring people and helping them grow and hit their goals. I think that's kind of like my calling. Like once I've made it and I'm at like $50,000 plus a month in passive income, I really want to shift over to helping people kind of just business plan and get financially free. That's kind of where I'm headed.
Nice. So for people who are listening along, at RE with WITH Carly KARLY. Really appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.